Howdy, of you delicious people. Comic book rebooting. So, I'm going to first go on and state to you, just in case you weren't aware or do not know, I am to have not have been a person that has gone on and ever put a legitimate comic book together. Been an artist, an inker, a storyteller of whatever title that they are to go on and have in the Marvels or DC world of things, or whichever. Or I have to not have owned a comic book company in my life. Because more than likely, you could probably assess by the way I set up things and whatever that is not be the case. Just so you're aware, just so you're knowledgeable. But after stating all that, I can still have an opinion about what these companies are doing because I've probably read things, I have probably had merchandise of said things, and then I have also gone on to probably research said companies and have had some things to say about all of that. Whether I'm to be all in or not. I had to fit it in somewhere because it seems that these people who are involved in these companies are needing to do the exact same thing with the words all in. So, you know how cringe that really is? You really realize that? That's like me going on and being involved in a Superman book and saying, hey guys, I just wrapped up this comic book and I'm feeling really super, man. That's so cringe, but then again, so is like forcing your audience to just be like, hey guys, you gotta be all in with what we're doing. All in, you gotta buy every book. If you don't buy every book, then you're not all in. Then I'm just gonna be like, well, I'll be all in, but I'll be all in October, right? Like, I don't have to do anything with your company right now, right? Because it's not October. F off with that nonsense. Because they're saying that it's not a reboot, but, like, what else is it? It's a big event. It's all you should care about. Whether you're in or not, it's happening. It's Darkseid in Justice League. For the 800th time. God, I can't wait for that build. Oh my god. Here's also the thing. Marvel had gone on and done Ultimates. And I was ultimately not thrilled about the content that we were kind of getting. We had Spider-Man, and he was needing to take costume tips from his daughter, and King the Conqueror was then Tony Stark, was then Iron Lad, was then something or other. I don't know. Like he was going through a lot of stuff. Like there was a lot of midlife crises going through that one character. I don't know. It was weird, strange. Oh, I can't say that name because it's already been taken. So after going on and making all those yuck yuck jokes, realizing that like the whole Ultimates thing was kind of a soft reboot, but then like basically having Marvel just kind of throw in your face like, hey, this is the only thing you guys should be carrying right now. But then there's just a bunch of other just Marvel stuff that you can just like have to read because there's not much else going on. But anyways, because all we care about is just X-Men and nothing else. Because we can actually play with these characters now, and that's all that really matters. And that's what the Marvel movies are telling us is it's X-Men or nothing. Honestly, because so we're in a build-up for a thing that may not have a really good payout with that whole X-Men thing. even though Deadpool and Wolverine would tell us otherwise. But then again, what's going to follow up after that? Just other just meh or mid movies that we may not want to even go on and support. Because really, we're kind of getting to a point where we're really just rebelling against these projects because we're laughing at them. We're going on and mocking them because we're really like wanting to voice our opinions and wanting to change these things because we're really thinking that like there's so many obvious routes that they're going into that not a lot of it is coming off as much of a surprise anymore. So let's talk about something that could be something all new and all different and could be actually a surprise of really just stating that I want the comic book companies to build some kind of suspense, to build some kind of build to something. And here's where I'm going with here. So, like, say, for example, Batman and Spider-Man. These two characters, more than likely, when you look at these characters, you could say Batman has fought the Joker a lot. Now, I mean a lot. Spider-Man has probably either faced off against Dr. Octavius or is going on and being with Green Goblin right now, which I'm like, okay, all right, we've had several Green Goblin stories that have been just very impactful, like the whole Gwen Stacy death thing, and eventually Green Goblin has been in a number of Spider-Man movies, so I guess Green Goblin is just really important, I guess. Because F off against Hobgoblin, because who cares about that nonsense? Whatever. I could go on and say that I personally am to like Hobgoblin just because he's a different change of pace character, but well, who cares, right? Who cares about an interesting character? We have Red Goblin or some goofy color scheme thing going on. We don't have to care about Hobgoblin. Who cares about that nonsense? But if anything, if we are to go on and have what I'm thinking that we can go on and do, we can do stuff like, hey guys, we're gonna go on and like start this whole thing of like rotation going on with characters. Wow, a rotation? Wow, that's nice. To where we can go on and have Batman facing off against Joker and what the heck all characters that he's fought a million bajillion times. But then the comic book companies could say, hey guys, X number of days from now, we're going to have Batman face off against Man-Bat, a character he's lesser fought. And just be like, ooh, wow. Man-Bat versus Batman? Hey, I want to go on and I want to check out all the old books of Man-Bat versus Batman. Because there probably is not going to be a whole lot of them. But like, I want to go on and check those out and buy the old books as well as the newer ones that'll come out soon. And just know the whole history of these characters and their battles that they've had to see what they're going to go on and deliver to me, which is probably not going to be anything that I'm going to write home about, but at least it will be something. But you know what? That would build interest. That would build a investment on your viewers to just be like, hey, wow, like, all right, like, I'm going to go on and know ahead of time that Batman is going to be facing off against Man-Bat? That sounds interesting. And then you could not always have that going on because I don't think every single book is going to fall into place like that. But man, would that just be interesting to just kind of give your audience just kind of some food for thought. But then also like have like Spider-Man just be like, hey, yeah, like from 2 weeks from now, Spider-Man is facing a lesser character like a Cardiac, or a Shocker, or a Prowler, or something that is a rarer character, and it's like, why is Spider-Man facing off against that character? Wow. All right, maybe there's going to be some story going on that is going to build into that issue. Wow, that would be interesting to see how that's all going to play out. Wouldn't that be a nice change of pace to know ahead of time something is happening in the comic book world instead of just being like, okay, I'm just going to get whatever. I'm just going to get whatever story that they can just give me. Hopefully it's going to be good. And then you understand why people are not investing in the newer stuff because they're just going in blind for everything. They have to invest in their gas and their drive and their whatever to get these pieces of paper that they don't really know what they're getting. Shocker. Of why they're not going to go on and do that legwork anymore. Surprisingly enough. But then also, I don't want any big events to be spoiled on any characters. Like, I eventually just kind of want like a rotation, but to not have so freaking often, like the Batman facing off against Joker or Spider-Man facing off against Dr. Octavius. Like, I just want something that is to also, if those people are just only like Batman facing off against Joker, for it to be important to when there is to be that story. So yeah, so like there is just kind of that, because I know that everybody has their faves and their whatever, but like I went there also to just kind of be something that we're seeing new, like to go on and have like Batman face off against uh Parasite, or uh some kind of villain that isn't even in his normal rogues gallery Batman. Uh, like that would just kind of be for an interesting one-off like thing, and you could have like Spider-Man face off against uh what is a Arcade, the past whatever X-Men villain, and just be like, why is Spider-Man facing off against Arcade? Because it's a character that has not gone on and been in a lot of issues of certain comic books have their time to shine. And like that, I think would just be a really good idea to kind of change the pace and change the status quo of what everybody's to just go on and expect, which might be fun, which might just be interesting. And eventually, when Parasite is going to get back to being involved in a Superman story, we already have this thing to just kind of just tie in from that Batman story, and so we're cooking, we're connecting things together for once, instead of just chucking out these things and hoping for the best. Having some kind of actual continuity, or some kind of like uh, prepping ahead of time for your company, instead of just going on and doing the same old over and over again. That could be interesting. That could be fun. And also, like, kind of just bringing out characters that you haven't seen in such a long time. I think really that was also interesting in the Batman stories, where they would just be digging out these characters that is like, wait a minute, like, I haven't heard of this character in years. Why is Batman facing off against this character? Why is Psycho Pirate out? Like, he hasn't been in a book for years. Why? Like, and then just like, oh wow, like actually like Psycho Pirate. He's interesting. He's cool. Let's see how this story plays out. And I would go on and love those kinds of stories. I really would. And I feel that Marvel should do the exact same thing. Where it's like, hey guys, like, Stilt Man. He's a wacky, goofy character that you randomly see in books. But uh like we want to go on and just kind of bring him back for this one-off little issue just to remind uh him to you of so many other stories and so many other things. Uh and also like there is no real like kind of rotation of certain characters that are getting their own solo books, and I feel that they honestly should. Why hasn't the Spectre gotten his own solo book? When was the last time that we probably had the Question get his own solo book? I feel that a lot of people like characters like the Question, and uh, like on the Marvel side, I think that they're really just very focused on just certain uh, stories and then wrapping up certain other character stories, and really like we're having to just see Marvel just through such a narrow lens, and just being like, man, I remember the days when like they would just have some like Howard the Duck books and this book and that book, uh, like or you know what, if a lot of stuff just isn't working, just toss it all in one book, like kind of what DC was doing with Justice League Darks and all these kinds of other team things and whatever they were trying to do with those. And yeah, like just have fun with that for once. Uh and I get it, like for Marvel, like the Fantastic Fours and the X Factors and the X Force, they weren't really selling. But that's also probably because they never went on to actually put characters in those books that could actually sell those books. You probably should have actually tossed in Wolverine into X Force or X Factor to try to get those books to sell. And have a really intriguing Wolverine story within those X Factor books. Just like, hey man, I gotta read X Factor now because there's a really good Wolverine story that everyone's missing out on. Wow, wouldn't that be nice? Because yeah, you just kind of gave us like these faceless Colossus, Bishop, and maybe X-23. And I'm like, that's not going to sell a book. You kidding me, Marvel? Like, I'm just laughing at you. You got me laughing at you, Marvel. You really do. But so, speaking of characters that we're not quite familiar of, let's talk about the newer characters. So, Batman went crazy, and he had this silverish suit, and there was like just two characters that they just added in his story. I'm like, who are these characters? Why should I give a rip about them? And immediately that just came to mind, where it's like, man, they just keep adding all these characters when there's so much of the DC library of characters that they already freaking have, that they've already made, that I'm like, why not just brush those things off and put them back out there? Like, we have that character Signal. I'm like, is that guy Orpheus? Really, is that guy Orpheus and they just kind of repackaged him? Because I don't know who Orpheus was, uh, his code name. But if that legitimately is Orpheus, then I'm just like, hey man, cool that they're like giving us that kind of Easter egg like thing. But like I was like, you know what? Like if you have a character like Orpheus that has already existed, bring him back, give him a new name, and like give us like the history of that character. And like that could be a thing that we can look up and just like be selling older books and just have fun with it. Again, trying to really bring up some rich history for Marvel and DC instead of going on and inventing all these willy random characters that are just like, I can just call every one of these new characters gook because no one's gonna give a rip about them. Because why should they? Because they're gonna have no real importance of what's going on. Like, am I just gonna go on and see that there's some new mutant that his power is that he can go on and explode, but if he explodes, he dies? And like, they're consistently having this character being in one story for some goofy reason that makes no sense to me. Why does that exist? Just so we can have a flash of Alpha Flight that has never been important in years? Marvel and DC. If you clearly have had a character that has been failing for a number of years, that has been a butt of a joke, kind of like how Aquaman was for the longest time, and then New 52 happened, and they're like, okay, hey, yeah, you know that Aquaman guy that was a joke? He's not a joke anymore. How about you finally go on and you actually do that for all of your goddamn characters? If Alpha Flight is a joke to people, put out a brand spanking new Alpha Flight to where people are just like, God dang, Alpha Flight, I'm going to be reading their books. They're not a joke anymore. Fantastic Four in the comic books, they're actually existing and they're there, and like you can actually realize how useful they are. Wow. What a change, because otherwise they're going to keep dying or disappearing in other worlds and whatever goofy crap that they're doing. Outsiders and champions, do they even exist anymore in these companies? They're teams, but why do they exist? Because they're all the sidekick and youthful characters. Why do you have to care about them? I don't know. Because you have Teen Titans or whatever goofy name or game that they're playing this week of who they are. Because Flash is to be a maybe older kid, so they had to call them Titans. I don't know what the heck was going on with there. Also, what the heck is going on with all these costumes? The costumes are just looking freaking weird. It's looking like they're throwing back to so many 90s style things instead of going on and giving us a more modern take about what's going on. You're seriously again giving us like underwear outside of the pants again. Why? Superman Legacy or whatever it's called is giving us underwear outside of the pants, and I ask why. I don't care that it has some connection with some past Supermanish character. The underwear outside of the pants was such a stupid thing, and they changed it, and I was happy with that change, but then they brought it back. Why? God, why? Like, I could probably complain about capes too, but like, it still works on certain characters. And logically, you're never going to go on and just have like Batman be wearing a trench coat, but that would be kind of nice too. But it kind of depends on what kind of Batman character they were kind of rolling with. Because, like, again, Batman would be nice with a cape. It makes sense. Like, really, the whole Nolan movies made sense of the cape. So, we'll give them that. So, but again, talking about these new characters. So, Signal is, like, I like the whole concept behind the character, but I don't like the name. The yellow is just reminding me of Wolverine. And then we're just getting all these new characters that I'm just like, man, how briefly are these going to exist? Like when Superior Spider-Man was a thing, like there was one character where like is brought into the Superior Spider-Man story just for Spider-Man to turn around and just beat this character to death and like give this kind of whole thing where he's like, oh, hey, yeah, like, am I joking now? Are you laughing now? Ha 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 ha. You're beating this person to death. I don't know who the character was because it doesn't really matter. All I remember is him beating this person to death because it was a know nothing character that he beat to death. And I was like, okay, all right, like, that was actually great. That was actually cool to really tell us, like, who this Spider-Man is now and have that throwaway character that they weren't using anyways to cement something. Like, I thought that that was a good idea. And actually, Batman Rebirth, where they were having that Gotham gal and the Gotham boy or whatever that goofy thing was with those characters that just had that weird goofy design, but their stories were just actually really good, so give them that. And there seemed to have been a ticking time bomb on their lives, but like those stories were actually really good. And then eventually, when they kind of transitioned into not giving a rip about them to care more about what is going on with Spoiler in the Rebirth, I was like, all right, okay, like, oh, good story. You got me hooked for however long that's gonna last, because freaking like Rebirth was doing that weird death metal thing, and I was like, I don't care about that. What the is that? Reboot this nonsense. Give me back to some status quo where I can enjoy this again. Don't go all the way back and give me some golden age weird goofy stuff where like Batman and the Justice League team are playing baseball together. I don't want to need to know that kind of thing. I hope to God they never go back to that kind of thing where bizarrely like the Justice League are all at a picnic together and they're all eating sandwiches and having a good time. Like, no, not that garbage. What the is that? But I can also go on and enjoy at some points where like Robin and Batman are playing basketball. It's like, hey, remember having fun instead of just being a crime fighter. Like little brief little things like that. Like that is kind of good. But like I don't need to see the Justice League freaking like wasting time in some goofy endeavor like picnics or basketball games or whatever. That seemed weird. Uh, but so anyways, I would also like the time where they would kind of gather around the tables, the round table and whatever, and they would all just kind of talk about the history of the characters together. Like, I don't know if that ever really happened, but like, they would always kind of just talk about how they really know one another. And so, of course, they would just kind of make some judgments on characters. Like, I honestly wish it would be nice if they can go on and sit at this table and kind of like how they did in the Young Justice, where they were kind of auditioning to add in certain members of the Justice League instead of just going on and just adding like Cyborg in, and he just kind of came out of nowhere, and everybody's like, I don't know if I'm pro or con Cyborg, but meh, like I liked him in Teen Titans, so like yeah, let's see what he has, and he'll probably get replaced within a number of issues, which it did happen, but then again, it didn't happen. So it just kind of depends on what you read. But anyways, Marvel is also going on and adding new characters because that has to be a thing now. And we also have to realize with both these companies, like everything just starts to stink of just desperation. And like when we get to a point where there's this team that comes out that I feel is to be just like, well, hey, these characters are to be this certain kind of person that is to try to appeal to a certain audience, and everybody has to look at that one team and just laugh at how just weird or goofy it is, and then hope that it doesn't really exist, and then it quickly is to be gone and done and over with. And then we just have to have a sigh of relief that it's like, oh my god, thankfully that didn't legitimately become a thing. Like, there was that one team that was strangely to have like these odd color schemes of characters, and like they were forcing this down our throats to just be like, hey, yeah, guys, this is gonna be the new team. And we all just kind of make fun of it. There was like these two like twin characters, and they were like light blue and pink or whatever. And they had these kind of just other characters that were in this group, and everybody was just kind of chewing them out. And I think this is right around the time I think like Rebirth was still a thing. And I don't know which company this was, whether it was DC or Marvel. But also, we don't have Image or we don't have Vault that has to go on and make a weird, goofy uh, company wide pitch of like an all in thing or the Ultimates. Like, they just keep going on and just doing whatever comic books that they're going to do. They don't go on and have to state, hey guys, we're clean slating everything. No, they just freaking do it. Because they're freaking, like, adults. They're just like, hey man, we're gonna just try all these stories, and if it works, it works. Who gives a like? We're just gonna have fun. We're just gonna put all this out there. We're independent. Who cares? So that's what I think that we should just have in our comic books now. Not all this elseworld garbage and all these like ultimates, non-ultimate things. Like, you know what? We should just have one frickin' Spider-Man book and one Spider-Man book a frickin' loan. If it's amazing, it's amazing. If it's just called Spider-Man, it's just called Spider-Man. But with that, we'll just go on and finally just have one Spider-Man story that does all the random weird crap that it does, and we just go on and we're just like, okay, all right, like let's see what wild things are just going on in this book, this wild weird pitch that whatever they're doing this day. But hey, like, they can get that out of their systems. We can go on and read it. We don't have to read it. And they can just keep going on and kind of just doing all these just kind of weird and wild stories within this one book instead of going into 30 different other Spider-Man books, because they're just trying to sell one character to you instead of going on and selling 40 other characters that they probably could have sold instead of Spider-Man black, blue, red, green, purple, white, blue. I don't know. But anyways, new characters. So there's to be this supposedly new Uncanny X-Men team that is coming out. And obviously this team is to be like, okay, we have the Horse Girl, we have the character that's supposed to be maybe either Negative Man, or I'm hoping would be like something interesting would be that he could go on and become like a certain like supernatural like Animal Man like character where he can go on and become a werewolf, a vampire, a zombie, a ghost, this and that and whatever. Like, that could be really interesting. That could maybe sell a book. That could be like a Beast Boy kind of character, and that could actually be interesting. But it feels like he's going on, and like it seems like he has a lot of things going on with the dead, whether he could be a zombie or a like, you know what? Here would be a good way to sell that character if this guy goes on and he brings back the dead. Have him bring back past either X-Men characters or superhero characters that have probably been dead temporarily. And man, would that be an awesome book? Be like, oh my god, they brought back so-and-so character. Gwen Stacy, if she's dead for the 18th time. I don't know, like maybe they brought her back, who knows? What's going on in this status quo lately? We don't know. Is Stacy dead? Is she not dead? Who knows? but a character that's been long dead just like brought back and be like, oh my god, this is awesome. Uh, like that could be a thing that could get people interested in this team that probably no one gives a lick about. And then we have the black hole heart guy that I'm like, dude, that's basically stealing from the Booster Gold Justice League episode where Booster Gold faces off against that one scientist guy that has this black hole like just coming out of his chest. I'm like, that is the stupidest idea, but I get why they probably had that one character. Because for him, like he is the what is it called? Like if nothing else works, it's that guy who has to step up and kind of get rid of whatever is to be facing off against them. So like this team can go up against like ridiculously absurd obstacles that there's no way they can beat, but then he can just come in and just be like the beetle kind of tactic. Like say for example, like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters would go on and have the proton packs and the ghost trap. And like that most of the time would just work. That would just like be the end all be all. But then there's sometimes where there's ghosts that are just far too big, or really if they were to go on and trap said ghost into ghost trap, the ghost ends up bizarrely just getting right back out. Oh no, what can we do to defeat this monster? How can we figure this out? And then there, of course, would be the story of like, well, what can we do to just defeat this then? And they would have to just outwit it or outsmart it. Whatever the ghost is to be that week. And like, that could be like the thing that they might be trying, or might possibly be the thing that they go with. But either way, Black Hole Heart Guy, that I guess is to just be the definitive way to just figure out how to just beat anything. But then again, like if you go and you have Black Hole Heart Guy, like you're really not going to go on and have them face off against like Ultron or something and just be like, okay, suck him in. And then you're just going to get rid of Ultron into space somewhere or whatever the heck he ends up being. And you're never going to see him again. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't get what the whole black hole thing will really be. And also what ends up happening if his X-Men friends are going to get sucked into this hole as well. Are you just going to replace him with somebody? Maybe we'll come to find out where that black hole ends up, and we'll have a whole story about how that person gets back to where they're supposed to be. Who knows? I don't know. That could be an interesting story. Barely. But anyways, you have Horse Girl. So Horse Girl can go on and change her horse into a plethora of different kind of forms. And immediately I'm thinking like, well, you can change it to a unicorn or a seahorse, and then maybe a centaur, but I'm thinking like maybe not the centaur. Because in all honesty, the more that horse could possibly look like a human, I'm concerned about what they could do with that horse. Please do not all of a sudden have the girl just start to like fall in love with the horse because he turns into a centaur. No, God, no. But that's what I'm thinking in my brain. I'm going into the dirty route, and like, just that is a goofy freaking idea. But that's probably where Marvel would just go with this garbage. And because they're probably going to figure out a way to just try to get rid of this team. But anyways, we also have the character who I guess is named Jitter, and I'm just like, what the heck is that? Like, to me, it just kind of sounds like a Flash. Like, hey guys, make sure that his stomach is full, or he's not going to be able to fight crime today. God, like, that team might be really interesting if it's going to be turned into a supernatural kind of Scooby-Doo-ish like thing or something. Uh, but then again, like, these are just so goofy ideas when really they can turn around and actually have characters that already exist to be put on some team and try and sell that. Why do you have to create this whole new team of characters? It makes no sense to me in my brain noggin. But this is what we're doing in comic books, folks. We're swinging wildly to just like hope that these things can sell, but like really look at the track record of that stuff actually going on and lasting past maybe a certain number of issues. Like, so many characters that they've tried to sell to you never goes on and lands. Like, we go on and we have in like X-Men 97, no one's going on and talking about X-Men 97 and how uh, great Sunspot was. Because Sunspot is kind of technically a rarer character or a newer character, and all anybody's to gush about is either Gambit or Wolverine or Cyclops or somebody that's been on the X-Men for a very long time. Because that's all they care about. They don't give a rip about Sunspots. Come on. Like, you got me laughing at you, freaking Marvel. So, and plus also, like, Sunspot didn't do jack crap nothing. I feel from what I saw. But who knows? I didn't watch the whole show. I didn't watch the whole entire show. Maybe he dies at the end and I couldn't care less. I could not care less about Sunspot because I know what happens to other characters. And also characters that are coming back from other things. I'm like, ooh, all right, yeah. But then I probably cannot really justify watching that show because I have other things to go on and watch and do and whatever. Hopefully, at some point soon, I will probably do that. Because I realize that more than likely that's to be the only thing that's going to do well on this channel. I get it. But anyways, so my frustration is just from the fact that, like, there are so many characters that we have already had a rapport on and history with that, like, they're still just kind of like blip here, blip there. And I'm like, why not finally go on? And because there's been so much time gap, why not actually give them a solo book? Why not give Spectre a solo book? Why not give characters that are obviously in top 50 lists, give them solo books that obviously are to be characters you can go on and actually sell instead of giving us a whole new brand new team of a character or characters that you're not sure are really going to make a lick of difference, and I hope that they don't. I hope that everybody going on and hearing about this team, everybody's going to laugh at and make jokes of, and you're just going to realize, yeah, I guess that was a dumb idea. Let's go on and scrap that whole thing. And you probably won't. You probably won't. You're going to think, man, this is a great idea, or at least we'll give it a one-off issue, and then we'll kill off the whole entire team. And man, that'll just be a fun thing that we'll have in some kind of brief thing that we have. I honestly want to see what's going on with that whole Spirit Rider thing of that Ghost Rider character. What the heck is that about? That just kind of looks visually interesting to me, but also I'm just like, but it's a new Ghost Rider. It's like, it's a female Ghost Rider. I'm just kind of like, oh, all right, that's nice. But then again, I'm just like, how often really have they kind of reinvented the whole Ghost Rider wheel, but everybody's like, but that Johnny Blaze though. And that's a problem. That is a real problem. Just be like, man, like you can't go on and give a good enough Ghost Rider story that can finally get out of the Blaze shadow. But then again, like I don't think the Robbie Reyes stories were that bad either. Like I was actually interested visually of what's going on with the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider stories beyond realizing that he was in Agents of Shield, and they're never going to do anything with that character in a live action sense. So never. So why waste my time reading any of these books? But like the character is still really good in comic books, so I guess I can just have a feather in my cap about that. That I took the time to just uh to go into that character. But then again, like they're not going to go on and do much of any of the Ghost Riders if they ever do anything with the Ghost Riders beyond Blaze, and I could be fine with that because at least they're going to go on and do something with Blaze. I'm hoping at some point. Uh, but then again, like uh, I hope that it's under a different actor instead of Nicolas Cage. There's nothing wrong with Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, but people probably have problems with it. Uh, but hey, at least it's something Ghost Rider related. But anyways, I'm a little ranting and whatever, and I probably like I had some bullet point stuff. But then again, it's just me just kind of making fun of these two companies. Uh, Let me know in the comments below something that you can go on and make fun of DC or Marvel about. Whether how new or how old it is. Maybe you're to be a person that was to just have a laugh at some Marvel or DC comic book cover or something that I'd be like, oh yeah, that does kind of seem like a meme or weird or doesn't make any sense. Uh, because you have maybe gone on to this whole entire video and heard me rant and talk about all these things and maybe gotten nothing out of it, but that's completely fine. Uh, but yeah, at least with this, like we can go on and possibly have some kind of strategy and think about what we're gonna do with DC or Marvel going forward to help them probably better sell their company. Because they're probably gonna have to go on and have DC probably eventually realize that they're not making money on their projects, and so they're probably gonna have to forcibly do what kind of Marvel did and kind of just sell off some of their titles to Sony's or wherever the heck else, or maybe we're finally gonna go on and have a Disney Batman show. Wouldn't that be funny? I would love that. Oh my god, to see what Disney can do with the Batman thing, that would be sweet. I would love that. I'm just so sad that Amazon took Batman. I was kind of hoping that Disney would have taken Batman Cape Crusader and see what it could have done with it. But I think Batman Cape Crusader was already like a done thing, and like I don't think Disney wanted an already done thing. But anyways, they probably wouldn't have wanted Batman anyways, or whatever that show really was, because there's not a lot of people that are just crying out for Cape Crusader. Uh, Even though I think a lot of people kind of felt very either mid or positive about it. I don't think there's a lot of people that just hated that show, but who knows? I didn't really go and check it out because I was just like, like everybody is just stating Batman the Animated Series while talking about that show, so I could just go on and actually just watch Batman the Animated Series instead of checking out the other Cape Crusader thing, because that would probably make more views than Cape Crusader probably would have. But anyways, eventually I want to go on and actually uh, do one of two things. I hope to at some point want to go on and hopefully either review comics on here or kind of showcase my collection of stuff that I have. If it seems to be the thing that you want to see, maybe voice that in the comments. Uh, I will probably have a lot of old comic books, but better than nothing. Uh, at some point, I would like to go on and probably go into more like comic book related stuff, but I kind of feel like I've kind of done all of that at some point. So I'm really just kind of scratching my head trying to figure out like how is that going to be a thing. Uh, but eventually, also, I'm probably going to cover very soon the movie called The Ambulance from 1990, which has Stan Lee in it. So that'll be a thing to check out. Other than that, not quite sure what else I'm gonna have to just state here. But let me know in the comments below your opinions about. It's not to just try to goat out comments or whatever. Like if people have like a thing that it's like, man, that sounds like a really good idea, or something that I can just kind of bounce off of and just be like, yeah, like you know what, like that does sound like a good idea, but maybe if we do it this way, and maybe that'll just be like a thing that I just have a back and forth about, like in other videos, could just be a bouncing off thing. Uh, could be fun, could be interesting, whatever. I don't know what else to say here. So I'm going to get out of here because I've already probably been talking for way too long about all of this. But, like, I really want to really see DC and Marvel to be at a really good place and not just be at a place where there's just a couple of books here and there that are to actually be popular, and to not have just an even amount of books across the board that are all like banger at one point. Because I don't feel like we've really gotten there in a very long time. Hence, for us just kind of digging for these old lost treasures, like a Sleepwalker, or uh, from the Marvel side of things, or DC, like going ahead and checking out stuff like the Ray, or uh, the Outsiders to see what's going on with that team now, or just Orpheus, because I should probably read those freaking books because I started to read them and then kind of faded off. Uh, but anyways, I'm gonna get out of here because it's very late and I don't know what else I'm gonna say here. Um, but yeah, like this, like talking about comic books to me is just kind of a fun thing to get back into, and also I hope to go on and probably get back into movie or show reviews, but I've been very, very flaky, lately because really, a lot of just real just depression and just stuff going in my head that just is not helpful for doing videos. And hopefully I can get to the point where I feel more positive going into reviews because I haven't felt that way. Uh, like I've kind of been stress eating and I've kind of been just like, oh, like I want to just push off doing a video just so badly just because like it's not exactly something that I 100% wanted to do. And it's really just me just kind of pitching stuff knowing that it'll probably be popular and doing videos that way. And that's at the end of it just not going to make me happy because I'm just kind of forcing myself into these projects that I really didn't want to do. Uh, but I'm being honest about it and probably repeating myself and whatever, but because I don't know how many times I've probably said this through every one of these videos, but anyways, uh, hopefully you go on and I should really just get out of here. I have nothing to say now. Nothing at all. Uh, but I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Oh, uh, Swamp Thing. There's a live action series. I want to figure out how to watch that bad boy. It's I think like available on Amazon, and I'm like, ugh, like I want to have like that show be on somewhere that I can recommend it for free, because that's what I would go on and do. Uh, so I think there might actually be one app that I have that might be like doing that show, and I might be able to recommend that to people, but it's kind of difficult compared to everything else. But like that could be the only option to be able to see that show for free. Uh, but I eventually want to watch the Swamp Thing like live action series, and it's not the one that was done later. It's the earlier one. Uh, but it might be fun. I don't know. Like really, I think I have to be forced to also just kind of watch stuff that'll probably get views. I should probably watch Teen Titans at some point. I probably should. I really should. I don't want to, but I probably should. Uh, but Teen Titans is not a bad show. It's not. It's not a bad show. Um, I didn't like Teen Titans Go, but I really did like Teen Titans. So I might have to go on and at some point do a community thing, to just kind of have people vote on that. But like, I just like it's gonna be another thing where I'm probably gonna get just forced to just watch something that I was kind of like, just I don't know if I really wanted to watch it. Uh, but I will go on and I will like whatever anyone decides. Like I'll go on and I'll do whatever is to be the deciding thing. Uh, I do realize that I have to go on and I do have to review Carrie. I will get to that. Um, and also, I still want to go on and review The Dark Half because I said that I wanted to do that, and I will do that. But I think that was the one where I like started to watch that movie, and that's where I just started to just like be like really just like low on myself, and like everything was just spiraling out of just whatever, and I was just like, you know what, like I like this comic book thing, let's talk about this comic book thing. It may not be in a very positive direction, but at least it's a direction nonetheless. With that said, like here's to how long I can just kind of rant about this and have fun for once. So with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.